Good. My name's Emily. I am 28 years old, and my wedding is this weekend, and I'm wondering how to handle my parents mean girling my very soon to be husband.
How do they go about doing that?
Well, it's not necessarily direct conflict, but just passing remarks and just like an overall lack of interest in getting to know him. It's been a couple of years that we've been dating, and they're still at the stage of like, he seems like a nice guy, and I feel like we should be beyond that point, now, so I'm just wondering. I don't think the wedding will be a problem. I'm sure everything will go fine, but I'm wondering what this looks like as we get into, like, marriage.
Well, what are you most afraid of? Like what impact do your parents have on your life and specifically marriage?
Right, so me and my soon-to-be husband, my fiance, we really connected on the fact that we are both, like, very family-oriented people. When we first started dating, it was my family does everything together, and he was the same way, and we were really excited to, like, you know, participate that in that together. And then as things progressed, his family was the way that he had painted the picture of, like, being super family oriented, doing everything together, and my parents, like, really took a back seat. I felt like we used to do everything together, but now that he's in the picture, things have gotten kind of awkward and like touch and go. And I'm just really trying to like grapple with the fact that like maybe my family isn't as close as I thought we originally were.
So, do you think it's things changed, or you think it's more maybe you weren't as close as you were, or maybe it just looks different?
Maybe it looks different. There's just been some like passing remarks that I wonder if it's sitting on their minds as well. Like, for example, when we talked about taking pictures at the wedding, my mom wanted to make sure that we got a picture of like just the four of us, me and her and my brother, and without my husband. And I had like made it clear, like, no, my wedding day is not for that picture.
I'm not too familiar with like the wedding picture rules. I imagine that the happy couple would be together in all of them, but I'm sure there's family like where it's just this family and that family.
Yeah, yeah, potentially.
Have you talked to your parents about this feeling?
So yeah, I'm not necessarily conflict averse. I did bring it up with my dad a couple weeks back, and I didn't frame it as you don't like my boyfriend, you don't like my fiance,
That's good.
you're not getting to know him. I had just like put it out there that I felt like we were disconnected, and there were conversations that I had been aware of that were happening without us present. That should have been conversations with us.
Like what?
For example, when my bridesmaids and my mom and I went to try on wedding dresses, the first moment that I went to go try on the first dress, uh, my mom goes to my best friend that she's been my best friend since childhood, and my mom has known her since then too. And the first question she asked is like, "Do you know what the rush is? Are they pregnant, or do you think she could be pregnant?" And I'm not,
How long have you guys been engaged?
since Christmas. So it is a
Okay.
quick turnaround.
Why so quick?
We were just ready to be married. I didn't see the reason for waiting. I plan events for work like very often. So
Okay.
like the idea of planning, we wanted something small and intimate. We're having 50 people. So I was like, 50 people, I can do that in 3 to 4 months. So I did. We got a
It's
good deal
impressive.
on an off season. Yeah, thank you. I got a good deal on an off season venue. So I just went for it. And yeah, we're just excited to be married. We are already living like we're married. We bought a house together. There was really no reason.
Did you even have like what do you talk with your parents about? Because like listen, if you're my sister, you're my friend, and you got engaged in December, and then you sent me a wedding invitation for like April, I would have been like, "Yo, what's the rush?" And you would have been like, you would have said exactly what you just said to me, which sounds lovely and it sounds like endearing. And it's like, oh my God, she's a party planner and she got it's just like, but like, I would have asked the question. And I'm just wondering, when and what do you talk to your family about? Because this seems like a normal conversation to have with people who are close to you, even if that conversation starts off with a little bit of questioning or maybe even judgy, like.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's why I was so confused that this happened in like hushed tones away from me, because I actually have had this exact conversation with my fiance's mom and brother and sister-in-law and friends and everybody. Like I would like jokingly say, just so you know, I'm not pregnant. This is not a shotgun wedding. This is why. And exactly what I just told you is what I've told everybody. And it was never like
How
never
long?
brought
How long
up.
have you guys been dating?
A little over 2 years.
Okay, so a while now. Yeah.
Yeah,
How old is he?
my age, 28.
Okay.
One, additional factor, I do have a 4-year-old son.
Okay.
I was a single mom when I met my fiance, and he is the only father figure that my son has ever known. He was like young enough at that stage where he doesn't remember anything different to like not have him in the picture. So I wonder if that's playing a role in it. Like that not
Why?
only are they protective of me and my heart, but they're also protective of their grandson. But my fiance has done nothing but be a shining example of a father figure. He has been so great to me and so great to my son.
What was your situation like before your fiance showed up in your life?
So my ex was abusive,
Okay.
very like in all the ways
I'm
that you
sorry.
can imagine. Yeah.
I guess after your ex was out of the picture, when you were a single mom, what did that look like? And I specifically, what role were your parents involved?
Right. So after I got out of that situation, my son was less than a year old. I did move in with my parents for a while, probably about 9 months. And obviously, well, my dad did step into the father role for my son because the other guy was out of the picture. And my brother as well. He's a couple years younger than me. And I think they really took that on. And then after those 9 months, I moved into my own apartment. It was like 5 minutes down the road from them still, though. And then shortly after is when I met my fiance.
Okay. I mean, maybe it's just that, in the sense that, like, your family cares about you, they love you, that maybe they're protective. I'm assuming your parents knew about your ex and how in his ways.
They didn't know until I came clean to everybody.
Okay, that
Yeah,
makes, but they know now.
they know now.
And
Yeah, they know the full extent.
they knew before you met your boyfriend or your fiance.
Yes. Yeah.
But they didn't know when it was going on. You hid it from them.
Right. Yeah.
So, which is totally understandable. I mean, I get it. But
Mhm.
if we're looking for ways of why maybe your family isn't showing up for you the way you had hoped and expected, without just assuming like, well, they just hate them or they don't like them or we're not as close as I thought. And maybe it's just coming from a little place of like, last one wasn't great. We didn't know. Maybe we thought it was better than it was. And here you are, like planning a very quick wedding. Again, it's just you don't hear about 4-month weddings these days. It feels rushed. So what's the why there? So I imagine on some level, you having a baby and you escaping from a really bad situation and your parents coming into the rescue, so to speak, in some ways was a traumatic experience for everyone involved, including but including your parents, and they don't want to see that happen again. And so they're probably not super like welcoming with open arms. I wouldn't be. Now, obviously, you guys are getting married this weekend. I
Mhm.
imagine your parents are on board and overall are happy for you. It's just maybe hard for them to kind of get out of this kind of frame of mind of just like not being fully all in. They're maybe mentally prepare for themselves for like things going south for you again. You had to move in with him, like they had to come to the rescue for you a little bit. This is all to say, like, I think, your solution is just like, you're going to have to talk to them more. What I'm hearing from you, correct me if I'm wrong, is your fiance, like you said, his family's been great. You've really enjoyed it. They've been welcoming, they've been fun, they're inclusive. And then compared to your family, which when you went in with the same expectations, they're guarded. You know, they're not asking you guys to come over for hangouts. They're guarded. They're keeping their distance a little bit. And for you, that feels like they're not accepting of you, or certainly your fiance. And now you're paying attention to every little comment or action that they do or don't do. And then you are deciding what it means, and you are responding to it, but you're not asking for clarification. You're not sitting them down. You're not just talking with them, and you haven't really had any meaningful talks with him. You know, and I was like, well, why didn't you say that? And you're like, I did. And I was like, oh. And then you're like, with his family. And I'm like, oh. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're not having this conversation with your family. And you're right, maybe they won't totally, but like, you're being a little cagey, I bet, with them, because you're not like, it's like you're waiting for them to do something. And as a result, you're kind of acting cagey. And they're probably interpreting that as, why are you acting cagey? Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
they're just reading the tea leaves. And again, like, not too long ago, they had to save their daughter from a bad situation that involved a strange man that at first you were like, you should like this guy.
Yeah. And the thing is, they didn't ask though. Like, and
What do you mean ask?
I wish they would. Everybody else asked me, like, "Oh, what's the rush?" They had never asked. And then
No one
when it comes,
no one else had to come in and rescue you in that time of need. And no one else
yeah,
experienced that traumatic experience with you
yeah,
a couple years ago. Everyone else is just a fan, you know, a friend. Your fiance's family. They didn't know you. They didn't know anything about you. I don't know. Many of them probably have no idea what your ex was like, you know. Nor do they need to know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they're there just to be happy for you. You know, they're just like, yeah, there's a wedding. Fuck yeah. You know, is it an open bar? Amazing. Your parents, they just want you to be safe and happy and all these things. And they're just a little cautious. You know,
yeah,
less than 3 years ago, like, their daughter was in an abusive relationship that you hid from them for a period of time. And then you're like, hey guys, I got to tell you something. It's been bad. He sucks. I need to get out. Help me. Well, you know what I'm saying? So like,
yeah,
you know, you are waiting on your parents to make the first move. And when they don't do something you don't like, or, you know, you're 28. You're about to get
yeah,
married. You're a mom, and you are still kind of playing the role of little girl with mom and dad.
yeah, yeah. And I will say it's not that their expectations of seeing us has changed. Like, one problem that we do have is, like, they do want us around, like, often, a lot. But when we go over there, it's like pulling teeth trying to make conversation, or they'll scatter. Like, we'll go to their house and we're all hanging out in the living room, and then all of a sudden it's just the three of us, like us and our son, just sitting in the living room, and everyone else is doing their own thing. So I do have so much empathy, and I was kind of hoping that wasn't the answer. Like, I think I knew deep down that was the answer, that they were being guarded for a reason because of, like, past things. But yeah, it's just hard to with the empathy that I have for them. Like, I have tried, like, I try to show up and I try to be involved in all of the things, but it's hard to be involved when you're just, like, met with, like, a brick wall. Like, I don't even have the same relationship with them that I used to have. Me and my dad could talk on the phone for hours, like, just a couple of years ago, about nothing. And now, same thing, even when my fiance is not around, like, the conversations are just not the same.
Yeah, but are you also different? I mean, I'm just curious what your parents would say.
Yeah, I am too. And like I said, I did try to bring up the not feeling as connected. I have had a conversation with my dad, and he kind of denied the whole thing in a way. He did tell me that I was starting drama and he doesn't like drama. I don't know if that's non-confrontational. Maybe he was valid in saying that, because we have never had that kind of
Well, how did
um
you approach that conversation?
well, I had told them we weren't feeling as connected, and when I said earlier there were
You said
discussions about us that could
we
have.
as in you and your husband or your fiance?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I can see why he felt like that was drama. So you gotta
yeah,
it's just like the reason I say that is because again and again, I understand your point of view, and certainly I bet your parents, from your perspective, and I understand why it feels this way. Like they could have done more to be more welcoming of your fiance and your relationship, and that hurts a little bit, especially when you've experienced the opposite with his family. I get it. That being said, whatever, they are slower to assimilate with you and your fiance. Doesn't mean they hate him. They certainly haven't they invite him over. I understand they're not super chatty about it. But before you've never really had a conversation with your parents about this. And the first time you had a conversation with your parents about this, you used the word we, and that included you and your fiance. And I think this is a conversation you need to have between you and your parents that doesn't include them, right? Because, I'm just coming from a place of if one of my siblings came to me with a criticism about how I showed up for them, and we never had that conversation. And then that conversation started with we, and that is we as like me and their partner. It would feel like, did your partner tell you to have this conversation with me? Like, this feels dramatic, like I've never had this conversation. Now I'm having this conversation with you and you're saying we. Doesn't mean like you're right. I would just because keep in mind, you're this conversation starting with an accusation, which is I don't feel as connected, and it's kind of and I kind of think it's your fault. Like that's kind of how they're gonna receive it, right? I feel like it might be more productive, and maybe this would be a great time because your wedding is this week, of maybe you taking your parents out to dinner or a coffee or whatever, and you not with your fiance, just saying, hey, first of all, I don't know, maybe you have. So whether you have or you haven't, you're just like, I just want to thank you again, or I just want to thank you, which one, for always being there for me, especially a couple years ago when things were pretty bad. And I know that probably wasn't easy for you. And I imagine it was really scary to see me in a place that wasn't so great. You guys really stood up for me, and I love you, and I'll always be super grateful for it. And because of what you did for me, you allowed me to be in a good space to meet Matt, whatever, and that didn't end well, but he's a great guy, and I'm really happy, and he's been great to my son, and I'm really excited to spend more time with you guys. But I think I'm okay. I'm in a really great spot, and I'm really happy, and I just want to thank you for helping me get to where I am today, because I wouldn't be here without you, or some version of that. And I think that will go a long way with mom and dad. And then, in the future or whatever, wouldn't even do this now. You could just say, without just me being so heavy, you don't have to be like, we feel disconnected. You could be like, Dad, could you try to just, it's just coming from me. It's not coming from him, because I think he wants to have a closer relationship with you. When you start it like that, then it's like, yeah, I guess I've probably been a little standoffish, or, if it's just like, hey, I don't think he thinks you like him. Then it's just like, yeah, but you need to do better because we feel disconnected. Your dad's probably like, connected? When were we ever connected? How can we get disconnected? I've never been connected to this guy, he's not my boyfriend, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I totally get it. I don't know if I wanna have the conversation before the wedding. Like I
Why?
said, it feels like I
You don't
know.
want to thank your parents for
I
stepping up
have
and being there for you?
I have written into my thank you speech something along those lines, but not, alluding to the past.
This is not something you proclaim to 50 people. This is a private
Yeah,
conversation that you
yeah,
express gratitude to your parents for. You're about to get married. And
yeah,
if your parents didn't step up and be there for you, who knows? Who knows where you
yeah,
would be? You might not have been in a place to go on a date with this guy. Your parents helping you and being there for you, and not making you feel like you're alone and on an island by yourself with like a 1-year-old or whatever, allowed you to heal and be okay and get back out there and date. And you don't want to thank them for that?
I do. Just in 3 days seems like a lot.
This is like a 5-minute conversation. This is I don't think you have to like this is
I
not like
guess
you don't
so.
have to make this such a thing. You could do it this
Yeah.
afternoon. You could stop by
Yeah.
their house and say, "Hey guys."
Yeah. Well, one like wrench in that is we did move like an hour away. So they're also like adjusting to that. And there's been feelings about that as well. And
So you moved an
that's
hour
another.
away and they're frustrated that you moved further away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, at least they care.
Yeah. Yeah. And they definitely do.
You have to I mean, listen, I'm not sure why this suggestion is so scary or difficult for you.
I'm just no, I genuinely I think I could have the conversation. The
You can do it over the
conversation
phone.
doesn't scare me. Yeah, I suppose so. With both of them, like set up like a three-way call.
Do they not live together?
I mean, they do. They do. Eh,
Speakerphone, FaceTime?
yeah, I suppose so. It's just the logistics
What
of
logistics?
uh daycare pickup being at 5 o'clock, bedtime being at 7, and being home with my fiance like that whole time. And
You can't
them not getting done with work until 5. I don't know.
You are
Just
full of excuses. Like I don't know. What what you described is a typical Wednesday night. I don't know. Like
yeah. When does that phone call happen on a typical Wednesday night?
literally at any point. Like again, this doesn't have to be some emotionally charged conversation. I hope that your parents are like, "Oh, that was really sweet and that means a
Yeah.
lot and thank you and we're really excited for this weekend." But this can happen at 5:30 or 6 or 6:30. You can tell your very supportive and lovely fiance and soon to be husband, "Hey, I just want to I just want to call my mom and dad about this weekend and just thank them for everything we've done, whatever." You don't even have to tell them why.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm going to take 15 minutes."
Yeah.
He's like, "Great, I'll watch the kid." Awesome. And then I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe I don't know what time your parents eat dinner. Maybe right after dinner, I don't know. Like literally any time.
You're right.
It honestly also could be this, weekend. When you guys, I don't know where the wedding is or when they show up, or maybe, but it does, I
Yeah.
just, it doesn't have to be before the wedding. I do think it would be like, I think it would be, again, maybe there's something that I don't know that you're not sharing. I don't know, but this doesn't seem like it needs to be that heavy. And it sounds like you've never done this. And I think it would
Yeah.
go a long way. And your parents care, they didn't want you to move an hour away. And part of you calling in was like, they don't like care about us. They're not engaged. Like how they're like, this is just communication. You clearly, no offense, are not the best communicator. Like you described a Wednesday night like it's like I was supposed to be like, yeah, that's crazy. I don't know how you're gonna make this call. I don't know. What are you gonna do between 5 and 7? Like
Yeah. I
you
don't
know,
know, maybe it's just the wedding planning brain thinking about it, but
I don't know if that's it. I think you just avoid confrontation a little bit, and this is not even confrontation. I don't know.
right.
If I were you, I would explore why this is a challenge for you to have this conversation with your parents, because whatever disconnect you feel with mom and dad, certainly I'm sure they're playing a role, but like, because it is so hard for you to have what should be a relatively simple, maybe emotional, but simple conversation that I wouldn't think would turn into any type of confrontation, you are reluctant to do it. And you've been
Yeah.
reluctant to like have a conversation with your parents about this. And the only time you brought it up, you were just like, me and him, feel a certain way about you too, and it's like that, that's a little confrontation.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it necessarily came across that way to like I can't remember quite exactly if like the initial accusation, if you want to call it that, was like we or I, but like he put it out there that he's like, I know that anything coming from you from this point forward is something that you and him have talked about. Like he's very aware that like any feelings I've had, like I have talked about with my partner. So,
Yeah,
um,
maybe. But I do think you saying, "Hey, mom and dad, just want to thank you for everything you've done for me."
yeah. No, I can totally do that. Like I'm not worried about the conversation at all.
Are
I
you
think I could do
are you gonna do it?
it. Yeah, yeah. No, I think I will. I will. I'm just
Unless you think this
thinking,
is really bad advice I'm giving you, and there's something I don't, I don't like.
no,
Maybe I'm
no,
wrong.
no, I think it's great advice, and I think I had, like, considered this as a whole reason from the jump. Um, like I said, I was just kind of hoping that it wasn't
Why?
this.
Why?
I don't know. I think I still hold a little bit of resentment for that time of, well, just, like, in the comparison. I just think back to with my ex, like, how welcoming they were. Like, we were, like, one big happy family, and they had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And I know this only supports what you're saying is, like, they were super welcoming back then, and that crashed and burned, and it was a bad situation. But I think when I just compare the 2, I'm like, this my fiance is perfect. Like, he's amazing. Like, he has been so supportive and just, like, such a blessing to us, and he just gets the shit end of the stick because of the ex situation. Um, I just, like, when I compare the 2, I wish it was different, but I understand why it's not. Like, I understand why they're
But it can
guarded.
be it can be different. It's not different right now, but like you just have
Yeah.
to do something about it. You just have to identify the problem. I think we identified the problem.
Yeah.
And now you have to figure out a solution. And that solution is to communicate with mom and dad and just empathize with their point of view, give them a little grace. But again, I think that, and that's why I don't think this conversation starts with like you two. This is not about him right now. This is about like almost closing. You're starting this new chapter. You're getting married, and closing this chapter with your mom and dad with this thing they went through with you, and acknowledge, because it doesn't sound like you have yet, to really thank them for sure. And I get, and listen, you were going through a lot then. You were in survival mode. Your parents did what you expect them to do, which is be there for you. But I do think it would go a long way just to acknowledge that to them and express that appreciation, because there could be an element of like, we were there for her, we helped her up, and then the first chance she got, she ran off with the new guy. And he's just like, again, as far as they're concerned, he's just certainly was some strange guy. And again, yeah, it just makes sense. They might be a little guarded, and that's not their fault. It's not your fault. It just is the situation. But you're getting married to the guy. You're going to be with him for a long time. You guys have time for your family get to know them. It doesn't sound like they're mean girls. They're just like not sure if they're just not sure. And they may not know why they're not sure. And yeah. And the fact that your dad, because he said something, he assumes that like they're probably waiting. This very much gives, like I was going to bring this up a few minutes ago, but this is like, when family members is like, yeah, we should hang out more. It's like, well, call me. Well, phone works both ways. Like, okay, well, then no one, it's just like you want things to change. Maybe your parents are the same way, but like maybe your mom could be like talking to a therapist, like, wish I was close with my daughter, and sounding
Yeah.
just like you, and coming up with all the reasons why she can't have a conversation with you, and like someone's just got to just talk. And I do feel like that will be like a nice way to close that chapter in a way that like lets them know you're okay. You appreciate what they've done. What you went through is obviously traumatic. And again, you were in survival mode. And I think sometimes when people are watching people they love in survival mode, they just want to make sure that they like are kind of like they know to take a pause and like look at their situation and make good decisions, because a lot of people once they're in that kind of survival mode, and make one bad decision after another, because they're making decisions in this place of scarcity where, it's just, you make smarter decisions when you don't need anything, as opposed to when
Mhm.
you like, I don't want to make this decision now, but I kind of have to make this decision now because I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I think parents, you just want to see you make good decisions. And I just think you coming to them like this in this mature way will come across in a way that's maybe hits different than how you've communicated to them in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think it'll be received well. And we have never really talked about the situation and, like, how it has affected them, like, up until now.
And you don't even have to like, you don't, if they want to tell you that you can listen, but all you have to do is thank them. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
You just got to express
Yeah.
some gratitude and let them know you're okay.
Yeah.
And express that gratitude on the eve of your wedding, that you've been
Mhm.
reflecting, and you just, if you haven't already, you just want to let them know that like everything they've done and everything they continue to do means a lot. And I'm really happy now, and I'm really grateful that I had you guys, because I wouldn't be here today in this place if it weren't for your help. And I just want you to know, Mom and Dad, I'm okay. I wasn't before. I am. And if you can say that with confidence, knowing that like this, you were used to be a person not too long ago who had to like tell them the secret that they didn't realize, that you weren't okay for a while. And I think that will be a nice little conversation. And I think you'll be glad that you have it
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
into your wedding.
Yeah. You've convinced me. Like, I think it's a conversation that needs to be had.
All right. Let me know how that goes.
Okay. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'm confident it'll be fine, unless you're not
Yeah.
telling me something. But yeah, that was a traumatic experience. I don't even know if you're fully through it, like, have you got any therapy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in a lot of therapy.
Okay.
Did a lot of like EMDR.
Okay, good.
And my therapist has graduated me, like in her words. So
Have you talked to this stuff with your therapist?
yeah. Yeah. I don't go anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, we talked about it some. I don't know if we came to any conclusions like this, but it was still early on when we were back, like still meeting. So
Okay.
I guess like one thing, and like maybe I was just trying to come up with a different reason why this was happening. I feel like my parents have thoughts, or I know my parents have thoughts about where we moved to.
Okay.
We were originally like, I grew up in a small town, but it was like 15 minutes away from like the bigger city, kind of bigger city. And then where we moved and where my fiance grew up and all of his family is like an hour away from there. And it's like a little bit more rural. And I guess I've just always gotten the sense that they think we moved to like a hillbilly town. And like they have thoughts about
I don't know.
him and his family and all of that.
Maybe I don't, that you're just guessing. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Talk to your parents. Like that is the solution. I'm sure. Like no
Yeah.
parent is like, no parent or grandparent is going to be excited about the people they love moving further away. But you only moved an
Right.
hour away. It's not the end of the world. It is a
Yeah.
minor inconvenience. But like this disconnection you feel is a product of you just like avoiding just conversations with your parents. And I'm sure they have a role to play in this too. But again, I think back when I said, like, I think when it comes to your parents, you still show up as their young daughter, their girl, and I think, you are 28. You are like this now. Your relationship with your parents is an adult to adult relationship. It is not like
Mhm.
an adult to a child, but you are still expecting your parents to do kind of everything when it comes to the relationship you have with your parents. And and obviously you have the right to move, and you're going to move and do what's best for your family. And by your family, I mean you, your fiance, and your kid. But
Mhm.
you're expecting your parents to just accept that, be happy for you. And that makes a lot of sense. But you're also expecting your parents to like have the conversation with you and communicate to you what their frustrations are, or, like you're expecting them to kind of do everything. And you have to show up in this relationship and and talk and communicate. And when you are feeling these things, you have to try to find the words. And I understand you tried once and it didn't go well, but I just think you're relying too much on your parents to be the reason why everything's okay between you and your fiance.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I was necessarily expecting them to like fix this with a conversation because I have no expectations of them to have difficult conversations. I guess we just don't. Like as a family, everything has been hunky dory for
Sure,
28 years.
that's fair, but you're not doing the thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm half the equation and I am
Yeah.
an adult and I want this to change. So how about I do something about it?
Yeah. 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 I
It's a
think I
lot
can
more
try
productive than
again.
being like, well, I think my parents think I'm, like you're assuming their intentions.
Yeah.
And you're you're
Yeah.
you're you're creating narratives in your head. And all this can be solved with just talking with mom and dad. And I
Yeah.
do think it
Yeah.
starts by just thanking them for what they've done. Because I feel like from their perspective, it might feel like we were there for you and then she things got better, and then she met a guy, and then we were just out of the picture.
Yeah. Think I can definitely do the thank you. And the other point you made about maybe later on down the line, just talking to my dad about how my fiance, I think he would like to have a
Yeah.
closer relationship with you. I think that will hit.
Yeah. And that can happen over time. Like I don't
Yeah.
think that they don't need to be best friends by Saturday.
Yeah.
He's going to be your husband, but I think right now your parents, you just need to get on the same page with your parents, and they need to know that you're okay. Because I don't think your mom's trying to be a mean girl or like start drama when they're like, hey, is everything, I honestly, she probably is just like in some ways, maybe checking in, probably knowing everything's fine. But like, again, like you dropped a bomb on them not too long ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I forget how recent that really was in the grand scheme of things.
So
it feels like I've lived like a whole new life
no
since
doubt.
then. But for them, yeah.
But let them know you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I can do that.
All right. Well, thanks for the call. Let us know how that conversation goes. I'd really love to know. And congrats on the wedding. And I have fun this weekend.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm such a fan. I get the top 1% Spotify video from you and Natalie, and I watch everything. So
we appreciate you listening.
Guys are great.
And we're congratulations on the wedding, and talk to your parents.
Will do. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye. What's up, everybody? Don't forget that all Viall Files Plus content is ad-free. Plus, for all you Ask Nick listeners out there, your update specials are ready and waiting for you. I know you are very interested on the follow-up calls. What has happened to these people after they heard my advice? Did it help them? Did it hurt them? Has their life changed? Well, you can find out on Update Plus, and you can get Update Plus behind Viall Files Plus, so go to viallfiles.com to sign up. You will be glad that you did.
I feel like most sports bras fall into the same category. They're fine for a workout, but by the end of the day, you want to rip it off. That's where Honey Love completely changed things for me. Most sports bras feel okay for exercise, but not all day wear. They dig into your shoulders, feel too tight, flatten everything into a uniboob situation, but not with Honey Love. The Cross Flex Activity Bra is different because it feels designed for all day support, not just workouts. It's supportive without feeling restrictive, and it uses cloud fuse bonding, so there's no wires, no poking, and no pressure points. The hook and eye back makes it way easier to put on and take off compared to your traditional sports bras you have to pull over your head. It gives you shape and separation instead of compressing everything, which is always, I feel like, where I lose confidence when I put on a sports bra, is because I just feel like I don't look or feel sexy, and Honey Love gives you the shape and separation instead of compressing everything. It's become one of those default pieces I reach for when I want support and still want to feel comfortable all day. So treat yourself to the most advanced bras and shapewear on the market. For a limited time, Honey Love is offering up to 50% off site-wide during their Memorial Day sale. Use our exclusive link to shop at honeylove.com/VIALL. That's honeylove.com/VIALL. After you check out, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Experience the new standard in comfort and support with Honey Love. One of the most questions I get asked is, how is my hair as long and as healthy as it is? Because not too long ago, it was so sad looking. It was so thin. It was so unhealthy. It was just shedding in the shower. And my secret is Nutrafol. It is a product that I swear by. I have put my mom onto it. I've put Nick's mom onto it. I've put so many of my friends onto it because it is a product that I believe in. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages like postpartum or menopause, and lifestyle factors such as plant-based diets, so you get the support that you actually need. I definitely feel like that is what saved me postpartum with River, was taking Nutrafol's postpartum, and I cannot wait to get back on it once I deliver these twins. So let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code VIALL. That's Nutrafol, spelled NUTRAFOL.com, promo code VIALL.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. What's your name?
I'm Noelle, and I'm 25, and I was wondering, do guys secretly want to hook up with their female friends?
Okay. Why are you asking?
I have a bunch of guy friends, probably, and I've known a lot of them for like 8 years, some of them 4 years, And I've never thought much of it that they wanted to do anything else until I met this guy on Tinder, and he kind of told me this theory that guys always secretly want to hook up or date their female friends, and guys will not have friends that are girls unless they're attractive.
And that have you met this random person on Tinder who told you this?
No, no, it didn't work out from there. He pretty much asked me like what my red flags were. I think to other guys, it's a red flag that I'm benched with like a bunch of guys and my ex. So he was like, either you drop them or this isn't gonna work out. And
Oh,
I
so how
didn't
did it?
see
So
meet
you were
him.
just like it came up in conversation with this guy you met on Tinder
Yeah.
that who you hang out with, and you
Yeah.
mentioned that you have a lot of guy friends, and one of those people is your ex.
Yeah, he actually like explicitly asked, like, "Are you friends with guys?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "How close are you?" And I'm like, "We're all in a group chat. We talk daily. We hang out every weekend. We all FaceTime." Like,
Do you got girlfriends?
not anymore. No.
Why not? Why do you say not
I
anymore?
I think we're all just young. I mean, we're all in like our early to mid 20s and all different like passive lives. And three of them had girlfriends, and they all kind of broke up
No,
around
no,
the
no.
same
But like,
time.
no, your girlfriends. Like, you have a lot of guy friends, but do you have
Oh,
friends that are women as well?
yeah, there's a few of them in the group that are single as well, and then all my other friends that are girls just don't live near me, so I don't
Okay,
get to see them all the time.
gotcha. Okay. And ever since you had this chat with this guy, it's got in your head, or
Yeah, it definitely has, and me and my friend in the group who's a girl, we constantly debate this because she thinks this she agrees,
with
and
Mr. Tinder?
yeah, yeah, exactly, and I'm thinking maybe I'm being a little naive to think, after 9 years, they don't wanna do anything.
Have there been awkward moments, or
I don't think so, but I also don't see the harm in if they did wanna do something, if they didn't never voice that or acted on it, then I
well,
don't
there's that
see what
too.
the big
Yeah,
deal
it's
is.
not like
Yeah.
because they're not like all predators because they're
Yeah,
men
exactly,
who
and
like who maybe are accept the friendship for what it is and have decided not to make a move.
I agree. I've also known them a long time, so I think also some of them, like, are just into relationships, maybe they don't see me like that, I don't see them like that, so I don't really get what the big deal is, but I kinda see how, like, outsiders looking in, how it might be weird that I hang out with a
And
bunch of
so your
guys.
big concern is like as you continue to date, are other men going to take exception with the fact that you have a large group of friends that many of which are men, and one of them
Yeah.
includes an ex-boyfriend? Like, how long ago was this guy your ex?
We broke up about over 2 years ago, and we only dated 4 months. We were friends for that, those 8 years. It got a little messy, but, I mean, we're both mature enough now that we're like, "Hey, we're either in each other's lives as friends or we're not in each other's lives at all." It was never serious, so I think
Yeah.
with that, it's very circumstantial. If we were living together and talking about the future, it'd be a completely different story.
Mhm.
But, like, we do say like, still hang out a lot, we text a lot, but nothing ever flirty, and from my knowledge, he doesn't have any other feelings left over, and he knows where I stand with that. I'm always saying how, like, I love how we're just friends and we work out more as friends because we truly do.
Okay. So here's I mean, is there any more tidbits or information you think I should know?
I mean, it just adds to the lore. I don't know if it helps my case, but, like, he also dated my best friend, and now she's dating his friend. So, we all
He
kinda
he and she
yeah.
now she's dating. So your ex used to date your best
Yeah.
friend,
Yeah.
and now he's dating her friend.
Now she's dating his friend.
Okay.
Like, my best friend and him dated, like, maybe, like, 6 years ago,
Okay.
and she's been dating his friend for, like, about 2.
Right. Right.
And, like
And to be
yeah. And,
clear,
like, we're all
all of
friends.
these guys that are in this group chat, you get the relationship ick. Like, nice guys, you are
Yeah.
friends, but you don't
Yeah,
there's nothing
exactly.
there, right? To be clear.
Yeah, like, I know that sounds weird, like, my
No,
best friend encouraged me to
sure.
date her ex and
Yeah.
thought, like, since we're great friends, we would work out, and we were being a little flirty, like, at that time. But now I've realized, like, maybe don't date people in the friend group because you won't always be lucky and be able to stay friends with everybody.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I mean, we all hang out, we go away together, like, on trips all the time where we're just, like, kinda drinking, and it can get, like, a little crazy, but, like, we're all respectful of the other one's in a relationship, and, like, I know
What's a
if I
little crazy
enter
look like?
pretty much just drinking for, like, 12 hours and,
Oh,
like,
alright.
dancing with each other, playing, like, drinking games, or just getting a little, you know.
And do those drinking games include like, I guess here's the thing, right? Again, like, this is a debate as old as time. You know, Mr. Tinder,
Mm,
you can't say that he's not right or wrong. It's very situational. Right now, you don't have a boyfriend, and I don't think you should
yeah.
stop being friends with people that are friends. They bring value into your life. You seem to enjoy their company. You're 25. These are your friends right now. That might change as your life changes. And I think you do have to at least be open to the idea that, yes, as you go on the dating apps or whoever, if you meet a new guy that is not familiar with your friend group and you like him, it's going to be an adjustment for him to feel comfortable and welcomed in your friend group, specifically because with a lot of men. He might not be as like black and white as Mr. Tinder, which is like, yo, like it's weird for a stranger on an app to ask you to drop all your friends for him. That's weird.
Yeah, yeah.
That's aggressive. It's just more like, if I'm, if I were out there dating and I met someone who like, and this came up. Now, granted, he specifically asked the question, so like that's coming from a place of he probably knew some girl who, like this has ended poorly for a lot of people, right?
Mm,
The guy who meets a girl, he's just like, yeah, it's just my best friend. He's cool, and it turns out it's when you have men and women of the opposite sex who are heterosexual and they're all friends, there's always the chance that like something could happen. I don't know if you're watching Summer House and that all drama that's taking over the internet, but like that's a friend group, where they hang out and they
mm,
drink and there's a lot of comfort and there's a lot of like, now there's a guy named West kind of maybe dating a woman named Amanda, but Amanda used to be married to a guy named Kyle, and like
mm.
and now we're going back and watching and we're nitpicking like these interactions, and at first we're watching because they're just close. There's a comfort there. Like there's just always a possibility a line could be crossed when if you and one of these guys were stranded on an island. I mean, eventually you'd hook up.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, well, you're here and I'm here and I'm into men and you're into women and let's get naked. Like you could have sex and it wouldn't be the same as if like you were stranded on an island with another woman or if he was stranded on an island with another guy. Like,
Yeah, I don't think it's inevitable, like, I think you can be close to a friend and
I don't
nothing
think it's
could ever
inevitable. I'm
happen.
just saying, yeah, I'm using an
Yeah, yeah.
I doubt you're ever going to be stranded on an island with any
No,
of these
yeah, but
people,
my friend says it's inevitable if you get too close. I think other
I,
circumstances play a
I
role
don't think
as
it's
well.
inevitable in general. I think there's always the possibility, and you just never know how someone's feeling on the other side of that equation. Like, I can say with almost certain confidence that, like, there's never going to be a situation where one of my guy friends are going to be like, I'm in love with you. Or,
Yeah.
or if they got really drunk, they would try to make out with me. And it almost certainly probably won't happen with your guy friends, but it's not the same. And over the course of history, there have been a lot of instances where it got weird. And I'm not saying
I
it's going to happen with
yeah.
your friends. I'm just saying that is just a reality of men and women friendship dynamics. And you might be one of those people with a great group of friends where you are the exception to the rule, but it's still something that any new guy is going to be. He would see it as a red flag, and rightfully so. Doesn't mean you're doing anything
Mm.
wrong. But if you meet a guy, and I also don't think it's I don't think it's reasonable or fair that you would have to drop all your friends for some random fucking guy. But if you meet a guy you
Yeah.
really like, it just might be something that you eventually have to you'll have to feel it out. You might go on a couple dates. If it comes up, you can just be like, yeah, like, so it's weird. I have some guy friends. You have to empathize with why it could be weird for any guy.
No, yeah. I
You s-
definitely get that, and
yeah.
I've met people that, like, were okay with it. Just more often than not, when it comes up, they're not willing to do anything, or but I also think, like,
What do you mean they're not
obviously
willing to
they
do
don't
anything?
they're not willing to, like, take the relationship with me further, I mean. Like, they won't even try. And, like, with the other Tinder guy, I kinda explained, like, if I get into a relationship, like, I know the boundaries I would have to have and, like, where to draw the lines in the sand, and, like, if we were to date, like, you would just have to trust that nothing would happen. And I also think, like, dropping people or blocking people in a relationship doesn't change the outcome. Like, if something was gonna
Yeah.
happen, it's gonna happen if they're blocked or they're not, or after
Yeah,
the
and listen, it
relationship
just
or
comes
not.
down to again, there's so many variables with this, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you were like, if you're saying, hey, listen, like, you're just gonna have to trust me. It's like, okay, well, what do I have to trust you with? Are you like going out to lunch with some of these guys on a regular basis? Like, what kind of quality time are you spending with these people? If you become boyfriend and girlfriend, I've used this analogy too. Like, before I met Natalie, I was very single and very independent, and I kind of did what I want. And I have a lot of women friends. Some of the couple, I became friends with women who we dated very briefly, hooked up, and then just realized that we were better friends. And then like time had passed, and I was very protective of my platonic relationships with women. And by protective, I mean like not considering like potential dates. I made sure that I had the appropriate boundaries. I valued these friendships, and I never wanted it to get weird. And I never wanted to cross a boundary. But as soon as I met Natalie, all of those relationships changed. I was definitely less available. I wasn't grabbing coffee with them or dinner. I wouldn't go to the movies with them. And I would before. I was single. I was
Yeah.
available, and they were my friends. And and that had to change. So, if you meet a guy and you really like him, it might happen organically, but yeah, he might have every right to be like, I'm glad you're friends with him, but like, I'm just like not comfortable. Like he's like, let's say he's got, he's poker night with the guys, and you're like, oh cool, I'm just gonna go hang out with 6 other dudes. That might be a little unnerving for them, especially if, it's gonna be, as I always say this, like, it'll be like, do you think your male friends care enough about you where they would go out of their way to make sure they make some new guy feel welcomed in your group so that this person doesn't feel threatened by them or just gets to know them? Would they take the initiative?
I think most of them would,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that matters, because like, again, like, it's just like, if I have a woman friend, it's like that woman friend has to make my girlfriend feel welcomed. It's her,
Yeah.
it's her job. It's like,
Yeah, I definitely agree with the boundaries. Like, I wouldn't be doing what I would be doing now
Yeah.
if I was in a relationship, of course, and understand that would have to change.
yeah. If your guy friends are like, I don't know, like he's some guy, I don't know, maybe she'll fall in love with him, maybe she won't. It's not my job. Like, but like it'll make it more difficult, because it's their group, it's hard to enter any new group. He's going to be
Yeah.
wondering why he has to make 5 new guy friends just to date a woman. And that's definitely different. So like, I guess what I'm saying is you just have to acknowledge that it's different. I don't think Mr. Tinder's right, but I
Yeah.
think Mr. Tinder's not totally wrong where I think for you to pretend it's not different or that you wouldn't have to move differently or, be very like aware of how he might perceive it, I think you would be making a mistake. If you were to be like,
Okay,
I don't know what the big deal is, you just have to trust me. And like, if all you do is to expect these new guys to trust you, I think it's not, you have to do more than that. I think you have to show them why it's not weird. I think these guy friends would have to go out of their way to like be friends with this guy. And if
Yeah.
they can do that, then I think there's a lane for any new guy you meet to become friends with these guys.
Yeah, I definitely get how it looks and why, people might not come up to me like when we're out together or things like that. But like it's also like how soon do I bring this up where they're not like running away? But like I do understand I would have to prove my trust to them and like be like, here are the boundaries that I've drawn and here's
I
what I'm
don't
not
think
going
this
to
is
be
like a
doing.
first or second date thing. I don't know. Eventually, I don't know. I guess it depends. I don't remember on a first date ever being like, so who are your friends?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it has to be some heavy conversation, but you be like, listen, I do have a lot of guy friends and it's been, but if I were in the shoes of these men, it really just, again, so much, there's so many variables. It really just depends. my response was like, do I need to worry about it?
I wouldn't think so.
Well, it really all depends
but
how you move, right? It all depends on how you move.
I think I move differently single than I would if I was like
Yeah.
actively talking to someone I liked, but they were like, "Oh, are you a flirty person?" And yeah, but obviously I've
But do you
never
think you
cheated. I would
flirt
never
with these
cross the
guys?
line. Subconsciously, yeah. I think,
That's a problem. Yeah.
I think we all know it's just like our banter,
Yeah, but these other guys won't know that, right? And I think that's a lot to
Yeah.
ask some guy to trust that, like, hey, it's cool that would you met a guy and he's got 7 girlfriends and these guys, are they Quasimodo or are they all like decent looking guys that you just happen to be friends with?
They're decent looking.
Yeah. Okay. So like imagine if some guy you met had like 5 decent looking women friends and he's like, oh yeah, we're just friends, which again is totally possible.
Yeah.
I like to think that my friends were also great people and beautiful women that I just wasn't, into. But if I just was like, yeah, I flirt with them sometimes. We're friendly, we're flirty. That's a whole different. Yeah, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Like
I definitely wouldn't do that if I was like actively talking to someone. I
yeah,
think we've all just been single a long time that
yeah,
that's just kind of our banter. But like obviously I'd want a potential new boyfriend to be friends with my guy friends and like that way like I wouldn't cut them off, but I know I couldn't be doing certain things, but like I still want to do fun things with them. Like we'll go camping, we'll go quadding, we go on snowboarding trips. Like
I mean,
I would
listen,
still want to do that.
without your boyfriend.
Oh, either or, I guess. I mean, I guess maybe it wouldn't be appropriate without him, but I feel like if he couldn't come or whatever the case might be and I still wanted to go, I don't know, I guess that's circumstantial too, like how long, yeah.
Listen, it's one thing I think it's weird for a stranger on Tinder to demand you get rid of your friend group, but
Yeah.
I think you going on vacation with a bunch of guys, regardless if they're your friends, and your boyfriend like can't go because he can't get off of work, or it's a lot.
There's girls there too.
It's a lot. It doesn't matter. It's a lot to ask. It's just a lot to ask. And I'm not saying you can't find it, but it does. It's a lot to ask, and
Yeah.
it will really be up to you. Like I think the biggest thing is if you approach it like, hey, I understand it's a little weird, but hey, get on board because these are my guy friends, versus, listen, I know this is really weird and I really like you. And to the point where like, I want to make this a priority and I see a future with you. And yes, I have some guy friends, but I really want you to feel like, because listen, if eventually, do you want to get married someday? What are your relationship?
Yeah.
You do. Okay. Right. So
Yeah.
like, eventually, if you marry someone who's not in this friend group, like you're not going to be going on snowboarding trips with them very often,
Yeah.
if at all. Life will slow down, especially if you want to start a family. Then I just think, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think you just have to acknowledge that a little bit. Like
I
yeah.
agree.
And so I would be careful to be protective over what your life look like. Right now, like you said, you're single. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Exactly.
And when I was single, I did whatever the fuck I want. And that's the benefit of being single. This is why when everyone's out there, like, I wish I could find someone and be like, well, I get it, but like enjoy what you have now because there is a shit ton of freedom in being single. Part of being in a relationship there's less freedom and you have to make compromises and sacrifices. And I would just be careful about how much you want to fight for maintaining the status quo with these guy friends. That's all I'm saying.
I've recently acknowledged that,
Yeah.
and I think I'm just trying to take advantage of like everything fun that we're doing now and how my relationships are now. And I realize, and I've talked to Max about it, like we realize like this isn't gonna last forever once he finds someone or I find someone, or even my other guy friends, like they draw the line real quick the second they start talking to someone where they don't have to tell me, I can just tell because of the way they're acting. And I respect that, I will never cross that line, or I'll make sure their girlfriends feel welcome in a big group of people as well,
So that's the thing. I think you just have to go with the flow and you have to just everyone's different. All these people in this group are all going to meet different types of people with different expectations. But like the big thing is you just acknowledging that this group of friends and this season of life is temporary. And you kind of want it to be temporary because, you know, your relationship goals are one that you want to meet someone and start a family. And like, you know, other people are like, I don't know, I want to go to Burning Man with these people until I'm 50, you know, like there are people like that and that's
Yeah.
fine, but that's not you. But right now you're
Yeah.
really enjoying your friends and it's a lot of fun. So enjoy your friends. And then you might meet a guy who is open to the possibility, but he, like any guy who wants to like start a family, like is going to want to feel like he doesn't have to compete with your male friends for
Yeah.
attention, for affection, for just feel close. Like you are friends with these guys, so you have a closeness. There's a comfort. At first, like a new guy's not going to have that. And so seeing you being comfortable and intimate, not like intimate sexually, but just like being comfortable with someone
Yeah.
is a level of intimacy. And I would just be very mindful of how comfortable you sound and act around these dudes when you're trying to get to know another guy. And I would be careful about how quickly you try to, and that's the thing, when you're, how quickly do I bring it up? I wouldn't really bring it up because the more you bring it up, the more you make it seem like a thing. If it's to the point where like, oh, I want to meet your friends, but like, I do have a lot of guy friends and like, you know, and it's more like I've been single for a while and we have a great group of friends. They include guys, but like, you know, a lot of them people are single, but don't worry. Like, I'm not expecting you to deal with that. Like, you know, but like, all I know is like, I like you and, you know, these are my platonic friends. And like, it's just more like, I think it's a case by case. Like the more you make it a thing, the more it's a thing, if that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
mean, I definitely get how it could be like a little hypocritical where it's like, don't worry, these are just my friends. I just dated one of them.
It's not hypocritical. It's just, again, it just really comes down to, I think you have to be open to things changing for the right guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think best case scenario, they can all be friends. They might be into the same things and hang out without me. But yeah, I think that's really good advice of like watching how I act and how comfortable I am with them if I introduce someone new, because I think that's just something that would happen like subconsciously. And I know someone new I bring in wants to feel like they're needed or they're the protector instead of my guy friends. But I also think I've never been in that situation. Like the last relationship before my ex in a friend group was like long distance, so I didn't really have to worry about bringing anyone new in and everyone else adjusting.
No, I mean, you're only
Yeah.
25. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I mean, I think, was this helpful? I don't,
No, it was, yeah.
okay.
My friends and I just like constantly debate this. She's in the friend group too. She's like someone's sister, so she's like, no one would ever try anything with me because they're all friends with my brother as well. So I think she thinks it's just circumstantial.
Well, if you're only going out with the boys, yes, most people are just going to assume it's going to take a guy with a lot of swag to walk into that group and steal you away.
Oh, that's never happened. I don't blame them, you know. I
Yeah.
know how it looks from the outside
So, but
if I
if
go to
you
a
meet
bar
a
with
guy
them.
on the apps and he's just not, you know, don't make it a thing. If you make it a thing, it
Okay.
becomes a thing.
Yeah.
But, and then for the right guy, you just have to be quick to, when you meet listen, if you meet a guy you're excited about, I don't think the first thing you should be figuring out is how to immerse themselves with guy friends. And if that is your big
Yeah.
priority, then like, I don't know. I think the right guy, you're just going to be focused on him. When we fall in love or we fall in lust, like whether girl, we have a tendency of like falling off the map and like our friends being like, where'd you go? And then you're like, I'm in love, you know, like, and that's not entirely healthy to be that drastic, but men or women, there should be a level of like, this is the person you want to spend most of your time with. And you don't want
Yeah.
anything to come in between that. And so for the right guy, it should be pretty easy. And you will, I'm assuming, like when I met Natalie and we started dating, I was very protective of her. You know, I was very protective of how she felt around my friends. And same way, you're going to want to feel protective. You're going to want this guy to not feel weird around your friends. You're not going
Yeah.
to want him to feel this. And so you will want to move differently. And maybe that move differently is to not just be like, all right, on the third date, let me introduce you to a bunch of dudes. You know, you can be like, yeah, I have a lot of guy friends, but like, yeah, I've been single. And yes,
Yeah.
I'm friends with my ex because like, listen, at the end of the day, we were friends. You just downplay it. And not because you're
Yeah.
lying about it, but you just like, but again, like, you know, I hope you meet him someday. You probably will if we keep dating, but like, a lot of my relationship was based off the fact that I was single. I had no one to answer to. If we're in a relationship, I'm not saying I'm going to stop being friends with them, but it'll always be a conversation with you. And you're just going to have to see how they are. But it will, and you might find a guy who you realize that he maybe is a little too jealous and a little too insecure and he gets a little extra weird.
I've definitely been in that situation, like, when I was young where, like, my friend, my boyfriend at the time felt, jealous or insecure or whatever it may be because we're also very young. And subconsciously, like, I dropped my friends so I can be a good girlfriend and like hang out with. It wasn't like, oh, you need to drop them, but like, oh, like, what are you doing? I'm worried about you. I want to spend all my time with you. And that way I didn't have time for my other friends. And I never got those friends back. And I've also been dropped by one of the guys in the group because he had a girlfriend. And all of a sudden I just was blocked on everything. And I think that's also, like, affected me where it's like I wouldn't ever drop anyone because of a relationship, but I know where to draw the lines in the sand.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no doubt that guy's girlfriend made him block her. Jealousy comes from insecurity. Either our partners make us feel insecure because they're flirting with a bunch of people and that feels weird, or we just have some insecurities. Usually it's a combination of both. Now that you're older and more mature, hopefully you can have that balance. You can still like get to know someone, make them feel prioritized, make them feel like they're the person you really want to invest. I also have some friends, but there's going to be a time and a place for that. But in the meantime, while you get to know a guy, I wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm grabbing dinner with Chuck. Don't worry, we're just friends. You can trust me. Like, yeah, it might be a little weird. Like you probably can talk to him or whatever, and like, but like, yeah, you might have to like, they might have to wonder where you went for a period of time while you get to know a guy.
I agree. Yeah, that would be definitely inappropriate.
But that's not the same as blocking them and disappearing. It just might be a like, hey, she met a guy and she's really excited about it. She's been spending a lot of time with him lately. So we'll see her soon, type of thing.
I think I've been friends with these people since I was like 17. So that plays a factor too. Like we've all seen each other like grow up a bit. And if I met these people maybe like a year ago, it wouldn't be so hard for me to just be like, oh, it's no big deal.
I had a great group of friends in my 20s, from, that I had known for a long time. And yeah, it's a fun time in your life, man. It's just like, honestly, like you be in your 20s and have a great group of friends to do things that now you have a little bit more money and independence, like you can't do that at 16, so like you guys to have these fun experiences and you're still like kind of YOLOing and you really don't have anyone to take care of but yourself. It's a fun time, so enjoy it, and let this be like an exciting chapter in your life that you will always cherish because someday it's going to end. It just most likely will. And if it doesn't, it kind of gets sad because like the 50-year-olds at Burning Man who are still keeping the party going because they just don't want to let, like there are seasons in their life, they come and go. It's time for things to end.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it does, and when that time comes, that time will come at like, because things change. You meet someone, your guy friends meet someone, you just have to be willing to adapt and not try to hold on to the past.
Yeah.
If that makes
No, it's definitely helpful.
Yeah. I do think a guy who's like, hey, do you have any guy friends? No. Probably not your guy because he probably has some baggage. He's a little closed off and you're probably going to need someone a little bit more open-minded and a little more grounded and maybe a little bit more secure. But even the most secure people can be made to feel jealous if you make them feel jealous.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't mention like certain things coming in, like, hey, by the way, we go on these trips and a little flirt with them.
The biggest thing is just because something's normal for you doesn't make it normal for the masses. And when you try to normalize something that most people wouldn't see as normal, it feels kind of gaslighty and weird. And it feels like, so you just have to acknowledge that your situation is unique and it's subject to change. And it's not something you need to, what you're trying to force. But like, yeah, you met me at a time where I was really single and I had a lot of guy friends. And like, if we get married, some of these guys might show up at our wedding because they are my friends. But I'm not expecting you to be best friends with these guys. I'm not expecting you to be okay with me vacationing with these guys. That might be something you have to,
Okay, yeah.
because that's weird. This is. It's just And not saying you do anything wrong, but it's definitely a unique, maybe unique's a better word. You know, it's unique, it's rare.
Mm.
It's not something the average guy is going to be like, awesome, cool. I'm super secure. And like, that doesn't bother me at all. When you ask someone to trust you, you are asking them to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know sometimes
Yeah.
we say, just trust me, as if like it's like, what's so hard? But sometimes we are asking people a lot to trust them, right? So like, don't ask someone too soon to trust you in a big way where you haven't built up that rapport or connection. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if early on you like a guy, you're excited, but you don't have a lot of history with him or in familiarity, it would be a lot for you to be like, I need you to trust me to vacation with men.
When you put it like that, yeah.
Yeah. So not that you ever can, maybe they might be friends with them, but like that's a lot to ask someone,
Yeah.
you know? And I think you should, and just recognizing
I
that goes a long
agree.
way. So cool.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful. I will stop mentioning it like early on. I think like I don't want to waste my time, so I'm like, let me just throw it out there.
Yeah, I think that's
You
kind of,
know?
you should stop doing that because it seems like you're like, the single moms out there, it's just like, I have a kid and that's not going to change. And no matter what happens between us, I have this kid who I will always love and will always be there. And I'm going to need you to accept that about me and work around it. And when you bring that up, like on a first or second date, that's how it sounds. Like I got 5 dudes you have to live with, you know, like you're going to have to love them like I love them. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like I just met a girl and she just told me I have to be friends with like 5 dudes, you know, like, you know, you're
like 20 of them too. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like it's the whoa, you know, I don't think you bring it up like it's a thing.
Okay.
A lot of our friends of the opposite sex, whether you want to have sex with them or not, still play a role of like what a boyfriend or a girlfriend would ultimately do. You know, I imagine
Yeah.
sometimes when you're down bad, they're there for you to talk to and open up to
Yeah.
and be vulnerable with. Like that's your boyfriend is going to want to be that guy and he's not going to want other men to be in that role. And by all means, if you want to have a girl chat about some girl stuff, pop off, queen. But like, if you want to talk to a guy about your feelings, like I'd like it to be me. Like that's what your boyfriend's going to want. And rightfully so, you know, and you
That's
just,
understandable.
yeah. So that's the big thing.
Yeah. So do you think that guys and girls can just be friends without anything else happening?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
But you always have to be mindful that that could always change. And you can't pretend that like, and you can't speak for other people. And by speak for other people, you can't be like, he would never. Like, you know that you would never.
Yeah.
But like, you can't speak for other people. Things could happen. They could, and not that they're in love with you. Maybe they get lonely, you know, maybe they're down bad. You know, when we are down bad and we feel lonely, we look for familiarity. Yes, you can be friends and most times it's fine, but like, it's not, stop saying, you know, it's not the same as your girlfriends and it's not the same as if you were friends with a gay man. Doesn't mean it's
I agree.
not, it doesn't mean it's not friendly and it does, but it's just not the same. And I think just
Yeah.
acknowledging that is okay.
Yeah.
But yes, I definitely think you can be friends. And I think while you are single, these can be men that you trust, and these can be men that you go to for advice, and these could be men that you're friendly with or flirty with and vacation with, and go have fun. And just, if you meet the right guy, you just have to ask yourself, all right, what needs to change? And I wouldn't ask him to get comfort, you know, just like the timing, and it's just, you need to get to know him first.
I definitely appreciate this. This is definitely very helpful. Yeah, I try not to like speak for my guy friends. I always just say like if they don't voice it or act on it, then that's what it is right now.
Yeah.
You know, even though
like, listen, if I were a betting man, you said there's 20 guys here in this group.
like, yeah, give or take.
One of them would date you if you wanted to date him.
I just like maybe I just don't see that. Like,
And you're not supposed to see that. You're not, because you're not interested in them, and you're not thinking that way. And I'm not trying to get in your head about it. I'm just saying
they would do something about it if they felt that way.
Maybe
all of our personalities.
Yeah, are you close? Are you equally close with all of them?
No, definitely not.
Okay, so maybe it's one of the people who are like outside looking in. I don't know, but yeah, it would be hard for like if I, you know, like some guy you meet, you know, it's just like, really, all 20 of them, you can speak for all of them. You're like, are you that undesirable that no one wants to see you naked? You know, like,
yeah, I guess the other way. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like so. Yeah, again and again, But that's what I'm saying. It's like, don't be the person who's like, no, they're all amazing, and I'm like close with all of them, and I definitely they're all turned off by me. Like, it's like, don't go that hard to the paint where you just sound like it sounds weird.
I think also in my head, when you were like, oh, maybe one of them would want to date you, I'm like, oh, well, they're also all friends with my ex. So I think given opportunities,
Maybe
a lot of them wouldn't jump on it.
That's the thing. That could be the reason why they haven't made a move.
I think it would be a different story if like,
It's not even about dating you. It's more like if you were drinking, and you guys drink as a friend, and you made a move on another guy, I bet a lot of them wouldn't turn you down, even if it was just for like a hookup.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to acknowledge, and just be mindful of that. And as long as you're not pretending that's not the case, I think that will go a long way with. I think a lot in these situations, men, and I think just like as a woman, like women, right? So like when you know how women move in ways that like maybe guys don't appreciate. And you don't want, if you met a guy who's like had a bunch of women friends and you were just like, yo, I know women, and you may know these women, but I know women. And you're just like, you don't sound like you know women. You would call bullshit. And you just want to know if a guy's friends with a woman that like he is being realistic about how women move and how self-aware he is to like how women see him and how he, you know what I'm saying? And so like, there's just a level of being realistic and self-aware that any guy that you date is going to want to see from you. And the more you try to convince him that this situation is normal, the harder it will be, because while it's normal for you, it's not normal for everybody.
That's definitely helpful.
Cool.
I'll try to be more self-aware of like the reality of the friendships and
all right,
not bringing up right away.
Yeah, these 20 guys are not your kid.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for the call. I appreciate you.
I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
One of my favorite ways to upgrade our room when I'm feeling like it needs a change is to always change out the bedding. It's to get a new duvet, and it's to feel like my room just had a major upgrade. And I'm doing that with Boll & Branch. Boll & Branch makes premium bedding made from organic cotton that's designed to be softer, more breathable, and more comfortable over time. They make everything your bed needs: sheets, pillows, blankets, and comforters, all from organic cotton that's breathable and super soft. The first night you sleep on it, you can actually feel the change. It just feels cooler, softer, and more put together overall. We started with the signature sheets and then added the waffle blanket and comforter. It basically made the whole bed feel finished. It's such an easy upgrade that honestly makes your room feel like you are living in the most luxurious hotel, resort, spa that you've ever wanted to stay in. So get 20% off your first order plus free shipping during the Memorial Day sale at bollandbranch.com/VIALL with code VIALL. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLANDBRANCH.com/VIALL, code VIALL to get 20% off. bollandbranch.com/VIALL, code VIALL. Exclusions apply.
Calling all pet parents like me and Natalie. If you love your dog as much as we love ours, make sure they get all the things they need to be happy pups. Chewy. Listen, we all love toys. We all love to play with things, and so do your dogs. And make sure your dog's life is complete, getting them all the products and toys that they need with Chewy. Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pet loves at prices I love even more. And it ships right to your door in 1 to 2 days. Not just dogs and cats either. Birds, fish, reptiles, all pets are covered. To keep your pet healthy, Chewy also offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and vet clinics across the country. And speaking of not worrying, Chewy has top-tier 24/7 customer service. You get real experts that chat with you over the phone anytime, day or night. Plus, if Jeff and Steve don't love something, including myself, you get a 100% satisfaction guarantee, which means you can return it within a year. No questions asked. We recently ordered a bunch of toys for Jeff and Steve. They absolutely love this alligator chew toy, and it showed up in a matter of days. They immediately played with it. It keeps them, we ordered some at the lake because when we got up here, they had no toys, and we wanted to make sure they had stuff to play with so they didn't play with River's toys. You're not bouncing between a bunch of sites or second-guessing what you need. Everything you possibly could want for any of your pets is right there with Chewy. So do yourself a favor and hook up you and your pets with some Chewy. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 off your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/Viall Files. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/Viall Files to save $20 off your first order with free shipping. Chewpanions.com. Chewpanions.chewy.com/Viall Files. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. There's no better gift than a gift from the heart, and Storyworth is making that possible for all of you who are looking for the great gift for that next great moment. Father's Day is coming up. Maybe there's a birthday. Maybe you just want to give a gift because you love them. Father's Day, I tell you what, I made my dad's Father's Day the best ever a couple years back when I gave him the gift of Storyworth. It's just a great keepsake. Everyone loves to hear stories from their relatives when my parents were kids, when my grandparents were younger, and you want to memorialize those stories, and Storyworth helps you do that. Here's how it works. Each week, Storyworth sends your loved one a question, specifically your dad in this case, questions about his life. He responds however he wants, email, web, voice recording, phone calls, no apps, no logins, no tech hassle. And all he has to do is answer them. Then after a year, it's all turned into a hardcover book with his words, his photos, and his life, and given a keepsake that lasts for years. Storyworth has more than 50,000 5-star reviews. They even have an unlimited plan where you can give Storyworth memories to multiple people throughout the year. Reading someone's story in their own words is always powerful. The question Storyworth asks reveals something you never would have thought to ask yourself. There's a lot of people in our lives, specifically our dads, that maybe you think they have everything they could possibly need. Give them something that will really touch their heart this Father's Day, and that will be the gift of Storyworth. This year, give the dad a gift that captures who he really is before the stories get harder to remember. Father's Day is Sunday, June 21st. Order right now and save up to $20 at storyworth.com/VIALL. Save up to $20 at storyworth.com/VIALL. Storyworth.com/VIALL. How's it going?
Hello. My name is Sarah, and I am 35 years old.
How can I help, Sarah?
Okay, so I've been having this, I don't want to call it like an issue, but this like complication in my relationship ever since we started dating, where my boyfriend is a photographer by trade, and he's a freelance photographer. And he follows a lot of models on Instagram and reaches out to them about test shoots and things like that. And I don't know how I feel about it. And it's, of course, a lot more complicated than that. But at the base level, that's the issue for me.
Yeah. How long have you been dating?
2 years.
Okay. How long has it been? I'm assuming it's been an issue. Like, when you first started dating, how did he pitch this?
So I guess it's one of those things where I can tell, maybe not everybody looks at who their partner is following, but I think there's just curiosity. And I think it's always been like a thing for him. And part of me hears his side where it's that's part of the business and the industry. And I'll ask him how do you find these models, or are you searching for them, and a lot of times, or he'll just say I'll see another photographer post them and I like their look. And so I'll follow them and see if, or if they're in the area, I'll try to create a connection. And so he kind of poses it as a networking.
Yeah.
And part of me does get that. And I understand that. But at the same time, it also feels like it's a very specific person. They always have less than so many followers. There's just part of me that feels uncomfortable about it, I guess, for whatever reason, maybe because they're all too similar, or
similar how, they all look the same.
They all look very similar, blonde hair, big tits, under a certain amount of followers, doesn't really ever follow or reach out to big models or models with a bigger following that feel more like models, because everyone's a model this day and age online.
Does he even know they're models, or are they just pretty girls online that would be open to being models? Or
I think both. So most of the time they'll have, you can tell by their feed that there are some, posts where they've tested with other photographers before, and you can see that. And so whether they're trying to get into it, or they have work on their page that they're sharing or whatever not, but sometimes it's pretty vague, and it's is this even a real model?
Is this a full-time job for your boyfriend?
It's a full-time job.
So he's an established photographer.
He's an established photographer.
And how does he make his money?
and he makes a lot of his money through corporate, like he photographs biotech companies, he does headshots, he does fashion, so he'll shoot for some fashion brands, and I think that's where what he likes and kind of where more of his passion is.
Yeah.
Be a little bit more creative, and I do think he has a talent for it, and I want him to be shooting that stuff, you know? Like, I want him to be successful in doing what he likes.
Is he working with and I was a model for about 6 seconds. I got signed by Wilhelmina Miami. They sent me to Miami and they had me for a week do like a bunch of photo shoots, and they set me up with some pretty established photographers to help me like put my book together, right? And I'm just curious, like, is your boyfriend working with other modeling agencies where when they discover or find talent that they believe in, they would send that person to someone like your boyfriend who would do this shoot? Like I'm no expert in the photography industry, but it doesn't seem totally necessary. And again, I could be speaking out of turn for him to be proactively reaching out to models to shoot them. Like I imagine every photographer needs like a book. I don't know, but how long has he been doing this?
15 years.
Been doing 15 years. So like, I'm assuming he has whatever. Like, how is him shooting young models who aren't signed by agencies? Like, what is that doing for his career? Like, does he not have like an established portfolio of like really beautiful shots he's done that he could show prospective clients? I imagine he does at this point. And again, like, why isn't he going through the agencies? Right? I don't know.
So that was a good question. And he does. He does work through agencies sometimes. Sometimes agents hit him up and they ask him to shoot new faces or work with like maybe a greener model. And so he will do that sometimes. And he actually just got back from shooting for an agency and he shot, I don't know, like 5 or 6 models over a couple days, like one in a studio, one outside.
Okay.
And yet he does frame it as like building his portfolio, which I can see a case for when you're trying to move into, I think, the industry. I don't understand it really that much. And even in 2 years, it still feels like a very foreign world for me. There's just a lot more nuance within it than I think like just the average person that's not involved in it at all, like me, like really can understand. Um, and so, but that's a good question. I honestly think I should ask him that. I think I should ask him like is what does shooting these models do for you? Like what are you getting? And maybe it's just like, you know, I feel like if I ask him that he would say like it's just experience, it's networking, it's
Yeah, I mean,
shooting
that's
different
it's
looks.
way too vague. You've been doing this for 15 years. Like, he's not breaking in.
So yeah, and I've brought this up to him like before to let him know that like, hey, this kind of bothers me. And I don't know if it's like from like a selfish perspective of where I'm like, I don't want to be dating the guy that DMs random chicks on Instagram. Like, you know, it almost feels embarrassing for me. Like, you know, like I'm like, you're better than that. Like, you don't need to be like, you can, there are other avenues, I guess, is how I feel about it. I don't know, but
I kind of agree. It's like, and also like, you're a blonde. Why was he not reaching out to brunettes? Like, what's going on?
yeah, not often. It is interesting. And then there's also another like kind of big piece to it that I also would like your thoughts on that has to do with an ex-girlfriend of his that's kind of been like a major play in our relationship since the very beginning, who fits the same stereotype of a woman. And I don't know how much I'm like overthinking it or if it even has anything to do with it at all. But yeah, there's that as well. When I had brought it up to him in the past, there was a point in time where he did stop following. Like I would say, like, you know, he just turned 40 last year. And I'm like, I don't know how appropriate it is. Like these are young, they're young, you know? And it's like he'll use the argument of like, well, what if it was a male or a female photographer reaching out to younger male models? Would you still feel like it's as the same, you know? It's just I'm like, I don't know, maybe kind of. And there was a point in time where he did stop following quite a few of these like random models. And you can see like they don't follow you. Some of them, most of them don't follow you back. So it's like you haven't worked with each other in the past. What's the point? And you look at their stories and their feed, and it's just all like tits and ass and sex. And it's hot and it's cute and but it's like that's probably
Yeah,
like when he's
but
on
but
his
if you're
Instagram, like that's what it's feeding all the time. And I'm like,
yeah, but also like
ugh.
yeah, there's also like he's a 40-year-old man who's been doing photography for 15 years. He should be established. And I am assuming he would want to be thought of as somewhat of an important person. And by important, I mean just like someone with experience, like I am assuming regardless of what his real intentions are, and it's honestly hard to say. I have very little information. I'm just, but you would think that he if I'm a 40-year-old 15-year veteran in photography with the purest of intentions, I would want to be careful that I'm not perceived, because in this industry, whether he's one of them or not, I am sure he's there are a lot of men who got into photography to meet chicks, maybe all of them.
Yeah.
And some of them might turn out to be like really great photographers. But at some level or at some point, yeah, you would want him to have reached a level of success that he has something to lose, and to be thought of as not as accessible, or just to get like, I guess any industry that sells a dream, and certainly like modeling is, you sell a dream. It is filled with people who take advantage of the people chasing a dream. And if I'm your boyfriend 15 years in, I would want to be self-aware enough to know that, right? And so back to like objectively speaking, what is this doing for your business? Other than like, like he's basically, it sounds like he's describing, it's like just keeping me sharp, just working on my craft, just like he's a basketball player, just like shooting a couple extra free throws, just because he likes the grind,
Or if he talks about it, it'll be like he wants to be shooting, and a lot of times in the industry, like you end up taking like assisting gigs or digiteching gigs to get by. And a lot of photographers do that, because I've met a lot now and it's very common. And so it's like just setting up shoots, so that you are shooting and you are producing work. And I see it from that point. And I also like want him to be, successful and whatever, he needs to do to get there, feel like he's getting there. I want to be supportive of.
Does he ever shoot men?
He does shoot men, but I don't think he's ever reached out to a male photographer. They've reached out to him.
See, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that is a good point, actually.
I mean,
Yeah.
because if this is about reps, if this is about shooting, and this is about just getting, again, I'm more women in modeling than men for sure, but he's never reached out to a guy.
Maybe he has, but I'm pretty sure
Not
that
to
at
why
least since we've been
why
together,
is
the men
why
that
why isn't he following any hot male models?
yeah, I think he only really follows models that,
This is about
he's
art,
worked with before. Yeah.
Like if we're giving your boyfriend all the benefit of the doubts, I think there's sometimes maybe a level of like, he's just convinced, like no guy wants to be creepy and no one wants to be thought of as the creep. And I think when you say it out loud, I became a photographer to meet chicks, it just sounds inherently creepy. But like, listen, we all do things, and by people, we all do, like, everyone's doing things to meet people in a way. Right. I think, again, when it comes to the modeling industry, it's an industry that sells dreams. So there's an extra level of like, it's easier to take advantage of people.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is this, like, it's not shocking that, like, if we're giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's just convinced himself that he's one of the good guys, and I'm not saying he's not one of the good guys, but he is not being at least self-aware that maybe even if you're one of the good guys, that like you are giving yourself a pass on optics that just don't land, and you might not be a creep or have bad intentions. You might not be sleeping with these women, but like you're only following women that typically seem to be your type. You're not following men. You shoot men. You should be reaching out to men. Like at least 1 out of 5. I don't know. Like, why don't you follow any of these people? Like, why aren't you like has he ever dated any models that he shot? Has he ever hooked up with any of them ever in 15 years?
I don't know.
You've never asked?
I've never asked.
I would ask.
That's a good question. It's hard for me to believe that he's definitely wouldn't be the type to take advantage
I'm not
but
suggesting he took advantage. I'm just like suggesting in
right.
the most organic, and like he was single, she was single. There was some
Yes.
flirtation, and like so
Yes.
he dated one of them.
Yeah, I would be curious to know that. And maybe that's something I should ask. I don't even know what that information would do for me. Maybe it would make me feel more uncomfortable about the situation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, again, like
Yeah.
best case scenario for you, he is just acting a bit obtuse. I think that's the word to use here, about like the optics of his industry, and at the risk of feeling a little like he's doing something wrong, because maybe technically he's not doing anything wrong. He is unwilling to just acknowledge that some of the things that he is doing is just kind of like hard for any partner to accept. And while he's not
Thank you.
doing anything wrong, he is not necessarily moving in a way that's, quite honestly, super appropriate and not
Yes.
consistent with like the way with the story he's selling. Because if this was just about experience and shooting people, then why isn't he ever shooting men? Why isn't he following these men? Why does he need to follow any of them? Why, after 15 years, why isn't he the photographer who's like, yeah, he doesn't follow models. You're lucky if you get to shoot with them. Like
That's how I pitch it to him. It's like, you don't have, it's like, sometimes I'm like, why are you following this? She looks 16. This doesn't look good.
He doesn't come across, his internet behavior doesn't come across as an established photographer. It comes across as someone who's like, I want to get into photography.
And it matters, like these platforms matter these days for photographers and for anybody in the industry, I would say. And yeah, like I had mentioned, like this girl looks so young. He's like, oh, I just shot her. Like this agency reached out, and it was true. Like they did, and he did shoot her. But it's like, you still don't have to follow her
I don't
on
know why he has to
Instagram. And
follow
he
her.
said, like, well, a lot of times when the agencies want you to post, they want you to collaborate with the model. Like everybody wants. And I guess for me, I'm like, maybe you have to be following each other. I don't know. I don't feel in that, but
you do to collab.
I was like, okay, yeah. So I was like, okay, and that does make sense. And it's this girl isn't his type specifically. So I didn't really have any like there was no like guard going up or whatever. I was like, okay, I hear you. Maybe I should stop. I also don't want to be feeling like I need to keep a check on it, like, and that's just taking a lot of time.
What if anything is he doing to like just, does he acknowledge at all that like you're not crazy for like?
Yes. So that is the thing, is that like when I had brought it up in the past, he did go through and stop following a lot of these models, like, that I had kind of been like, come on, like it feels like you're leaving a door open, and it just feels disrespectful to our relationship. Like it's just kind of like
It's just also like comes across as a little at some point, and when I was single, I was, it's like you don't even realize it at first. You're just like, oh shit, I follow a lot of models. You like follow here and a follow there. But yeah, at some point, it like a 40-year-old guy in a relationship, it just kind of comes across as shady or creepy.
Yeah, and I think at the point where I brought it up to him and he did stop following, and it did feel like, oh, okay, this is like I gave him an actionable thing, and it felt very respectful, and then I felt good about that, and I'm like, I don't really need to bring it up again. And then it just, 5-6 months go by, and then it's happening again. And I'm like, okay, well, why did you correct the behavior almost like in a sense before, but now we're back, So that's confusing. It's almost like he kind of heard me and he felt like, okay, yeah. And then he didn't really feel like he was doing anything. I don't even want to say he's doing anything wrong, because it's like, maybe it is completely innocent. Like you said, like all things, give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it is completely innocent,
it would make sense if you brought it to his attention and he made some changes for your comfort. Never felt like he was doing anything wrong, and then just like time passed where he just kind of got back into old habits. But yeah, I mean, listen, I whether it's you or he did, like, I just, at this stage of his life, I think he should from a business standpoint, just like, yeah, listen, like anyone looking at your page is gonna, I don't know. It's just, it's funny. I still follow a couple photographers back from my very brief modeling career. And they will post a lot of beautiful pictures of beautiful women and very sexualized, I have no idea if these guys are in relationships or things like that. I don't honestly haven't looked to see who they follow. I don't know. If nothing else, he needs to stop reaching out to a bunch of strange young women, especially if all those women have blonde hair, where it's just like, it needs to be a little bit more business focused. And I don't think he needs to start following those people right away. And yes, if he's getting work through an agency and they want him to collab and he does that, but it sounds like right now you're playing the cop. And you're observing these things and you're like being the angel on his shoulder that says, are you sure you want to do that? And now for you, it's also coming from a place of like a little insecurity from a place of like, well, I'm your girlfriend. But even if all you were was like his business manager, like you have some valid points and you probably would just wish that he would, even if from the business side, make some slightly different moves because the way you're describing how he moves, it is hard for me to totally understand all the business reasons for why he needs to move the way he does. And
I think he would agree. I honestly, and so then, okay. And then there's also, so about the same time that I brought up him, like, this makes me uncomfortable. I don't know if this looks good. There was also this whole like saga with his ex. And I feel bad like talking about it because he really struggled with this, like this during this time in his life. Like before we met, he had been like separated, broken up with this girl that he had been dating. And this girl was tied to his best friend. And I think he had brought this girl into like his life and his best friend at the time and his best friend's wife at the time. And then his wife and his ex were like got really close. And they had like this foursome of just like being really close and doing a lot of things together. And this was like his best guy friend, like his closest guy friend. And then when they split, his whole friend group went with her. And he like lost not only like his girlfriend, but his best friend and this like core group of people where he like really identified with and had a really hard time with it.
Why did he lose all these friends?
So I think the girl he was dating at the time was ready, like wanting the next thing, and he wasn't ready. Like, I just think like he describes it as like, and it kind of goes into this like, it's not related, but it's kind of related to like the way that he
sounds related.
moves. Yeah. So, and you would think like, oh, if this big explosion or whatever in your life had happened, like that you would take a look at like the way that you live and the way that you're moving and clean it up, or, I don't know how the best way to describe it, but he kind of has like the victim mindset, like when it comes to it.
Do you know his ex?
I do not. I wish that I could talk to her.
I bet it would blow your mind.
I think it would too. And this is also part of the thing is like, oh man, there's like so much I don't want to get into like all of it. But so before I forget why this ties into it is because when I had brought up the models and following thing to him, he has like a professional website and there were pictures of her on his professional website still. And they were like old photos. But, you select pictures and you're always changing what's on there. And it just made me uncomfortable. And I'm like, why do you still have her on there? Like she's made it clear to you that she's moved on. She's engaged, which I'll get to. And she's like, has been in this relationship for a long time. They broke up like years before me and him started dating. And he was still like so torn up about like hadn't healed at all, it felt like.
How
like
many
when we
years?
started talking. Like I think we started dating in 2024. We met in 2022. We didn't start dating until 2 years later. And by that time, they were already broken up and had been broken up for a year or two. So we're talking like 4 years probably at that point. It's a lot of time. And it makes you feel like, it makes me
She
feel
also
for
blonde.
him. She's blonde. She's got, yep, tall, like the where I'm it
He
is,
has a type.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she also is kind of like got this like, I think she's from the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest. Anyway, he had these pictures of her on his website, and I asked him to take them down. I just like was like, it would make me feel comfortable if you took them off your. They're not like amazing pictures. It just feels like
You don't have to justify it. It's a fair
yeah,
request. Yes. Yes.
period.
Yeah.
And he didn't, and he wouldn't, and he kept pretending like he was like forgetting about it or he didn't know it was there. And it's like, and I had like not like 5 days in a row, but like I would say something and then like a few months later I would really look at his website and be like, why is that picture still there? You know, and it just felt like, I don't know, like, come on. Anyway, eventually he did end up taking it down, but it felt like I really had to like ask and re-ask multiple times, which was annoying. Um, and yeah, anyway, so
Did he eventually take them down?
he did eventually take them down. And so they're down now. And yeah, anyway, so they're down now. But when we first started dating, he opened up to me and he let me know like this like riff happened in my life. I lost my, and he framed it as like he was really missing his best guy friend, which I do think there is truth to that. But the longer that we've been dating and the more that things keep coming up and the more that I see and the more that I kind of learn bit by bit, I feel like it was more about her than him. And so it kind of feels like it doesn't feel like our relationship was built on a lie by any means, but it just kind of is like, oh, was there more dishonesty from the get-go than he's leading on? And how does that make me feel? Like, you know, it was like he was so distraught about it, but he framed it as like that was my best friend, like as in the guy, you know, and he wanted everybody to be able to be friends and like, you know, because they all still live here and they are into the same music and we'll see them at shows sometimes. And like,
Right. He sees his ex best friend. Have you ever met him? Like they're not even saying
yeah.
hi. Are they? Are they?
Yes. So on Valentine's Day this year, we saw them at this show in the city and they were there. His ex's fiance, and his ex best friend. And I was kind of upset with him a couple days later because he didn't introduce me to his ex best friend. And he talked so much about him and there's all this thing, but then he's like, he'll frame it to me like F him, like F that guy. Like he doesn't come up and talk to me. Like and I do get his point, like,
Yeah, I
to a
know.
certain degree, like, his friend did, like, cut him off, and it was shitty and, like, maybe unnecessary, but I think I
Do you
wonder
know if
for
that's totally true?
I don't know, and I wonder if part of it was because my boyfriend had a really hard time letting go of the girl, and they're all intertwined, and, like, the ex-friend just couldn't handle, like, all the everything that came with, like, them not being together anymore, you know? And part of me is like, "Oh, he wanted this relationship so bad that, like, with this girl," and she at one point, she was like, "I'm done with this. I'm not waiting around anymore for a ring or whatever," and she moved on, and I think he just, like I think in his head, he was like, "She still loves me. There's no way, like, she could be with somebody else." And now it's like, now she's engaged, and it's, like, all coming to a head, and it's a lot for him. But, yeah, we saw them on Valentine's Day, no communication, like, I didn't get to meet any of them, which was sad, and we had run into them at previous shows, and he wouldn't tell me they were there and he would know, and it's like and then I would find out later by some other way because I didn't really like and it's dark at concerts, and I've never met her, so it's like I've seen a picture or 2, but I really don't know if I would recognize her on the street, to be honest. I don't know, and so it's just like if it's this big thing, but then you can't talk to me or anyway, so that's kind of always been a thing, and he also is like, "Well, I don't know what you would be comfortable with," or, you know, and that I understand too, because it's been an issue for us because, like, I would say, like, last June, so this has been, like, almost a year ago now, we go to the desert a lot, to Joshua Tree, it's like a big trip, he's got a
I'm
big van, we
familiar.
sleep in the
Yeah.
van.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and there's this show every year, it's really into, like, desert rock, and it's a kind of a niche genre of music, and, he introduced it to me, I love it, it's fun, you know, and so he went down to the desert, I went with him, and then I flew back because I had to work, and he stayed, with his van. And there's a lot of nuances that come with this story. Like he was staying with this friend of his. Well, he was staying in his van, but parking it at a friend of his house. And this friend of his is, they've been friends for a while. She's also a Desert Rock fan, but she's very like eclectic and like he had told me a story about her. She's like this Swedish bombshell, like that, like he had hooked up with in the past, and but he'd never had feelings for. And at this point in our relationship, this is like a year in, I'm not 100% comfortable with them spending time alone together, like as I feel like anybody would. I don't know her that well. I don't know her intention, like I just, and that had been brought up to him, and he still decided to stay at her, like park his van at her place and hang out with her while I wasn't there. And so there was that. And then they went to the show together, and they ran into his ex and her fiance, and I wasn't there. And so he tells me, like, after the show the next day, he's like telling me, oh yeah, she was there, and I just like, and he's like, and it made me realize that like I don't want anything to do with it anymore. Like I feel really good. And he was kind of framing it like that. Okay. And I was like, okay, like, did you talk to her? And he kind of like gave me like a runaround of like, yeah, a little bit, this and that. And then he came back, and like we talked, and I just had this feeling like I don't know, like sometimes you just get this intuition. And so I went through his phone. And I went into his deleted text messages, which I didn't even know you could do at this time that I'm doing. And I guess you can delete certain text messages and it'll save it in a deleted text message folder. So I'm in this folder and I'm opening up, I'm like undoing all these deleted text messages. And then I'm going back into his messages to see them. And he had deleted all these specific messages between him and this girl that he was parking his van at. And turns out that he went to this bar the night before the show, and without the girl's house that he was staying at by himself. And he ran into his ex that night and didn't tell me about it. And we talked on the phone that night too, and he didn't mention anything to me about it, which is kind of, you would anyway.
Yeah.
And he's messaging, and the messages are like, and so it's like to even consciously delete certain messages is like, okay, you obviously know this is wrong, and that this is something you should probably bring to me. But then the messages were like, oh my God, she's here. She's with her boyfriend. I don't know if they were engaged at this time. What do I do? I feel so weird. She's acting like she doesn't know me. How can she just ignore me? And the friend's house he was staying at.
How long you been with him at this point?
1 year.
Okay.
And this girl is messaging back to him and saying like, should I come and like corner her in the bathroom and like give her a note? And my boyfriend's responding back like, I would be forever indebted to you if you helped me basically get a conversation with her and all this stuff. So it was like, he was like ecstatic and also just like shocked, and like wanted to, and just, it was just very clear between their exchange, and so that hurt. And so then I brought that to him and I was like, what is this? Like, why didn't you tell me you ran into her the night before? And he's like, it was just a lot. And a lot of it probably is like resurfacing trauma of just like,
Yeah.
you know,
okay. Yeah. You're, why are you so understanding?
I know, because I know he is a good guy. And I don't just say that like he's a good guy, but like he cares about people and his friends and his family to a degree that is like hard to find, honestly, like into today's day and age. Like I think that he like relationships, like close relationships really mean something to him. Like he'll cry about like his best, he has like a friend, like he's just like
I hear you, but like
means well.
but
And I
you would
know that
you would agree that something's not adding up, right? Like you would agree that there's like something about the way your boyfriend moves that just doesn't add up. Like when you tell the
Yes.
story, there's just like, yeah, but like the fact that he was dating this woman with this friend group, and when they broke up, that friend group chose her.
Yes.
Like says something. Don't know what it says specifically, but it definitely says something.
So he'll describe that as like it's the best friend of his, the guy best friend of his, it's his wife's. is running the show, and his wife is like, he'll just do whatever his wife says, and he's like,
maybe, maybe. Or he's just like a super respectful husband who's like, yeah, I mean, she's my wife, bro. And she is my ride or die, and she's my partner. And at the end of the day,
he isn't that guy.
what do you mean?
I don't know if that changes. Well, I know he's not that guy because when describing his ex-friend, like he would be involved in like sleeping with a bunch of prostitutes and like always lying to his wife and cheating behind her back and all this terrible stuff, which also begs the question
So like,
for
why
me.
is he friends with them?
Yeah,
But you know what I'm saying? Like there's always
I know.
something about a story that just doesn't add up. And he might be a really nice guy, but I'm saying it's just like he is 40 and he's having a hard time, if nothing else, growing up and maturing. It's like, fine, he used to reach out to models. Why is he still reaching out to models? It's, there's a version of the story where it made sense and it wasn't creepy and he was just out there hustling and he was single and whatever. It just was what it was. And maybe he dated a couple of them, but like no big deal, but like, his ex-girlfriend who he sounds like super in love with. And you're right. You paint like an accurate picture where like he probably took it for granted and probably thought they would always get back together. And then they just didn't one day. And that fucked him up, but it wasn't enough for him to do anything different. There's a version of him is still expecting people to like follow him. He's got a van. He goes to he has this alternative lifestyle that he doesn't want to give up. And he's full of excuses and reasons. And I'm not saying they're lies. They're just it's all kind of, it's a little bit of bullshit, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit of his life is bullshit, and at some point, and listen, like I was super single in my 30s and like living out in LA and doing all these crazy things. And like, it's weird how comfortable you can get. Like you do lose track of time in a sense, like even like I go home to Wisconsin and like my friends are different stages of life that I was. And there's a lot of it where it's like, I'm living the good life compared to like, they're living vicariously through me. But yeah, it can get weird fast sometimes. And it's just like he should be past the point of reaching out to random inexperienced models like that.
Should I be upset that he had messaged a friend of his saying that he was distraught finding out that his ex was engaged, and this was like a month and a half ago?
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. I think you're way too accommodating and understanding. And I don't doubt that he is a good, decent guy with a lot of, I don't think you're like delusional for wanting to date him or fall in love with him. But I think you're in a way being taken advantage of. It kind of sounds like you're understanding, like, and again, like you've been dating for 2 years. And the way he needs the emotional support to run into his ex-girlfriend is jarring. Like that reminded me, like the way what you described, I haven't been in that state of mind since I was like 23, 24. My first girlfriend, we broke up a bunch of times. It got back together, but she always had this hold on me. And I would try to date other women and I would try to convince myself I was over her and even convince them if it got brought up, but like I never really was. You know, to a certain extent.
Like, am I in that place? Am I that girlfriend right now?
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's 2 years. If it was like, hey, you've been dating for 2 months and it's still kind of new, we're still building.
And so this is what he'll tell me is he'll say, when things are good with us, I don't want anything else. I don't think about her. But when there are rifts or when things aren't
when you bring
great,
up the fact that I DM models, then I start missing my ex-girlfriend. It's like, okay, that's great. Like, so it's all your fault.
And I mean, I'm not perfect, like I'm not. And the thing that he doesn't like that I do is like, I'll get to my, like, I'll run out of patience and I'll be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, let's just be friends, like, I don't want to do this. And he feels like I break up with him. And then it's like this whole thing. And that's your big,
that's your big flaw.
That is. Yes.
That sometimes you come to the realization that this doesn't feel right and it's too heavy and I'm too understanding and I honestly can't make sense of all your different reasons and stories for why you're a 40-year-old man who lives in a van. I know he doesn't live in a van, but like lives the van life and like DMs 21-year-old models while he also has a 35-year-old girlfriend whose ex-girlfriend left him because he just didn't want to grow up or settle down. And despite his love for her, couldn't do that. Like, what are your relationship goals?
I would like to get married and have kids.
And what about this relationship and what about him suggests that's going to happen anytime soon for you?
That's what I am asking myself, and that's why I wanted to talk to you, because I realized that, and I feel partially guilty because things haven't been perfect with us because of, and I would say, like, a lot of it has to do with my, reaction and the way that I'm handling the things that are being thrown at me. But
I don't know how you're handling it, but like you are justifiably upset and you are just like, I'm sure sometimes you handle it good and sometimes you handle it poorly, but the fact that you have to handle it, period,
yeah,
is an issue. And you've been having to
Yeah.
handle it your entire relationship.
yes,
And you're trying to basically like convince yourself that like he is enough, being the nice, empathetic, caring person who has a big heart and just like maybe does some charity and like he's a good guy, but like he is maybe just a good guy to too many people and he's not a great guy to the people he needs to be a great guy to, specifically his partner. The people have a lot of different opinions about me, out in the world. And I do like to think that the people who know me a little bit think I'm a pretty decent guy. But like what matters to me is that like my wife thinks I'm a great guy and that I like she, and she doesn't have to like, it would like to have to know that my wife would have to just try to like convince herself that she has nothing to worry about constantly. That is like not a,
that would bother you.
yes.
Yeah.
Like how is that if you have to constantly wonder and then have to do mental gymnastics with yourself, if you have to like replay conversations that you've had with your boyfriend about why he does what he does, and then kind of be like, I guess all the time, like you're never in a state of comfort and security that you should be
Yeah.
in. And again, his track record is one of like, he doesn't want to settle down. He's not in, he can't
But
even.
he'll say he does. He'll say
No,
that's what he
no, he
wants.
doesn't. Then why didn't he settle down with her?
Yeah. And I think he regrets that. And he'll regret that probably for the rest of his life. And it's like, that sucks for me because we have so much life left to live that I want to do together.
He won't. Yeah, I don't, I think he should leave. I know, sorry. I don't know. I am sorry. I don't usually like to make these kind of, there's just a lot of things that this does not sound like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want this for my friends. And you're 35 and you're still obviously young, but do you want kids?
Yes.
I
do with the right person in the right situation.
But, your biological clock is a thing you have to consider that
Yeah.
he doesn't.
Yeah.
He is just not giving you a lot. What about like all you've told me about him is that he's like kind to people.
He has a great relationship with his family, comes from a great family. I think that he is like
But
picky
what does that
about
what
who
does that
he
have,
surrounds
what does it have to
himself.
do with you two? Like, I guess my point is just like, I don't know, again,
Yeah.
you can say a lot of things about me. And like, I do think people who know me think I'm nice, but no one describes me as like this overtly kind people who's just always just like, walking the streets with kindness. And again, I do I do a lot of, but like, even sometimes my siblings will get frustrated with me about like how closed off I can be. And I'm, but who doesn't think that? My wife. Who's never never thought that ever? My girlfriend. Because when I'm in a relationship, like I prioritize, like I'm very good at knowing where my energy is going to the frustration of other people in my world. And it's great that he's a nice guy. And it's great that like everyone's friends with him and everyone likes him. And it's great that he's just like,
But I would say he's selective, and I feel special in that way too. Is like
selective how?
I think he's selective in like, like who he does spend time with, and like And I feel like he does give me like, I do feel like he loves me, and I do feel special in that way. And, like, I do feel like he does treat me really well and is sweet, and we have, like, a really good thing and, like, something that's hard to find. And I'm sure you probably hear that all the time, but, like, he has, like, his past relationship that he's so bent out of shape about, like, that was probably his most serious relationship aside from ours, and he even just told me the other night, like, "This relationship that I have with you, I have never had this with anybody." Like, we lived together, he had never lived with anybody before,
He's
and,
40.
yes. But, like, yeah.
Like, he's not 25.
Yeah.
He's 40.
Yeah.
And he has, I think he has to have greater expectations for himself and how he moves. And I think he needs to listen. And I didn't marry, like, I'm 40, like, I'm not trying to age shame him or trying to be like, he can be like, I live a young life, but there's some aspects of his life that I think he needs to mature and be
Do
a
you
little.
think that part of it, like, as a man has to do with, like, feeling like you can take care of a family before you agree like, you do that? It's
Sure,
like,
but is
a
what?
part of me feels like he wants his career to feel, like, more stable and more, like, solidified, and, like, I do think he does really well, and, but it is an industry that is ever evolving and changing, and it's
Well, that's a
hard,
couple things, right? Like, one, yes, do men want to feel that? Of course. But like, how much is enough? I don't know. What does he need? Back in the day, all men
Yeah,
throughout history have felt that way. And yet it didn't stop like my parents who were poor at 20 to like get married and
yeah,
start having kids and figure it the fuck out, which kind of used to be the thing.
yeah.
So it sounds like he's doing just fine. And again, like also he's in an industry that is inherently like unpredictable and has less stability. So like if he wants stability, then go get stability. If he wants to be a photographer, then you just have to accept realities of his lifestyle. Like he always has an excuse for why he can't do some of the things that he needs to do to make himself happy or his partner happy. He just has to like, he's a little, I don't know, maybe he's spoiled. I don't know. But like at some point he has to make different decisions.
And
And
there's nothing I can do to, like, get him to that place,
I,
right?
I,
Like,
I, I, I would love for you to talk to his ex-girlfriend. I again, because I bet like, like what the picture you're painting is probably very accurate. And maybe, you know what I'm saying? At the sense that like, ultimately he's probably a decent guy who's not like DMing random girls just to hook up with. Why is he friends with a guy who so comfortably hires prostitutes and cheats on his wife? That's a whole nother story, but I digress. Big red flag, but let's assume that has nothing to do with him and he's ultimately a decent guy. But like, I bet his ex-girlfriend just kind of got tired of this bullshit, right? Because it's just bullshit. And it's just like, you shouldn't, if nothing else, regardless of what's going on in your relationship, you shouldn't be constantly having to understand and empathize with his situation and why you need to be okay with things you shouldn't be okay with. It's 2 years in and he's still getting over her. Like, then, I mean, no, like, I don't know. Like, you can't have anything. It can't be that special. No offense. Sorry. If he's still getting over her, like, I'm sure he likes you and it's nice. And, but like also when it's good, it's great. But like, what about when it's bad? Because a lot of times in relationships, it's not great, and I bet she just got tired of his bullshit. She just is like, it's got to be better than this. And he was just like good enough to not, because he's a nice guy and he was fun and like he was
it's
charming
fun.
and he's not toxic and he's not, and he doesn't
Yes.
like yell at you, and he's like, there's,
Yes.
so many worse boyfriends out there. And he was just like, but it's all kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And he needs
So
to
let's
grow up.
say, is there a world where, like, he learned from that with his ex, and now he could be ready for that with me? Because I think that's where
I think
my
you're
head
too
has always been.
I think you're too understanding. And the only way you're
'Cause it
going
shouldn't take multiple conversations for
yeah,
him to, like, change his actions with these things. And then it begs the question of, like, we live together, and we have this whole life together, and, if we break up, for me, it's it's like it feels like my whole world is changing, which is fine, and I'll be fine and I'll, get over it. But I think that's why in the past when I've said like, I don't want to do this anymore, I haven't followed through because I recognize like, oh my gosh, this is going to take so much work
I bet she felt that way.
and I won't want to do it again,
Sure.
like I won't come back because if we're going to take this step for this to be over, it's going to take so much work emotionally, and just like in general, like my life, it's hard to live where we live. It's not easy. You can't just go down the street and just book a new apartment. Like it's hard. And it's like, okay, well, if it's, then that's going to be it, And so, yeah, it's like part of me is like, maybe if we didn't live together, I would be able to like hold a line better and he would get to where he needs to be. But it's like, it's too accessible.
He's 40.
And
I just gonna keep pointing that out, that I wouldn't expect any marketable changes in him. And it really needs to come from him. I bet she felt like she found someone, she moved on. I bet she shared your fears. And I'm not saying you walk up and break up with him now. And it probably doesn't help that you've already kind of low key try to break up, I just don't know what's going to be different for him. And I think clearly it wasn't a wake up call for him with the last one. And then he victimized himself in a way that like when you become a victim in a situation where there's maybe some opportunity for growth, there's not much growth.
Yeah.
You spend more time thinking about how you were wronged. And two things can be true. He can be wronged, and this could be an opportunity, it could be a wake-up call, but he's not seeing it as a wake-up call. And he has spent 2 years trying to convince you to why he's the victim in his movie. And you've bought it a little bit, but like that has stopped you from getting the things that you need. And again, at the end of the day, like more than anything, you can't be in a relationship where you constantly have to do mental gymnastics to empathize with your partner while constantly feeling slightly gaslit all the time.
Yes.
That's not a state of, that's impossible. You're not going to get what you want.
Yeah.
So
okay.
You need to accept that, or he needs to make a drastic change, and he needs to hear you on why like you're making these decisions. But like, it's just,
That's helpful. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, keep us posted on what you do. I'm sorry you're going through this, but
I will.
Tough situation, but yeah, you're not crazy.
Thank you.
You're not, and
thank you.
I think you're a little too understanding. And
thank you.
I think there's a lot of women in California your age who are like, oh girl, say, like half the people who are at Burning Man.
We're not burners. I just want to put that out there.
But you go like, it's easy to live a Peter Pan life in that state.
Yeah.
And coming from an affluent family, like, he is not used to making hard choices that require a lot of sacrifice on his part. And I think that is showing in his life.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Nick.
Keep me posted. I definitely want to know what happens. All right.
I will.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.